Rod Wave's lyrics say, "I'm not scared of werewolves or vampire, but I always lose sleep when I dream that I could set my people free." That's how Rod Wave starts the anthem that we hear at the end of the Sinners film. But what if I told you that this isn't just a song? It's a sermon. It's a spell. It's a scream wrapped in soul. It's a twin to the Sinners film. It's the entire Sinners film wrapped up in one song. Look, this ain't about monsters in the dark. It's about the monsters in contracts, in courtroom, and broken promises. And today, we're gonna break every single line down. My great-great-granddaddy probably turning in his grave if he knew I was a slave to the state. That line, that deserves a statue. Your great-great-grandfather, that's 5 generations back. Mid-1800s, Mississippi. Slavery, chains, and cotton fields. The birth of white capitalism. And what was promised? Freedom? 40 acres? A mule? But what did we get? We got sharecropping. A setup so cruel that many who lived through it said it was just as bad as slavery. Imagine technically being free, but still working in the same land, for the same masters, under the same debt, with no ownership. See, the film takes place in 1932, Clarksdale, Mississippi. And at this time, the Great Depression is choking the life out of the country. But for black folks, it ain't new. It's just a Tuesday. Most are locked in labor with no rights, no land, and no legal recourse. Lynchings are still happening. Black veterans, they're returning from World War I, only to be treated like enemies in their own country. And I told y'all before a few videos early that when they were taking pictures in their uniform, they were lynched for it. That's the world that Sammy was born into. That's the weight Rod carries in his voice on this track. So when he says slave to the state, he's talking about the prisons, poverty, mass incarceration, over-policing, debt, and the trauma that's passed down to us like it's a birthright. Look, we weren't handed freedom after slavery. We were handed new change. And let's talk about the vampires. In Sinners, when Sammy plays that final chord and we see no reflection in the mirror, that's not just folklore. In vampire mythology, mirrors reveal the soul. And vampires, well, they lost theirs. So when Sammy's reflection is gone, it leaves us to ask, did Sammy sell his soul? Did the industry bite him? Did the road to survival come with a spiritual invoice? And here's the eerie part. Vampires can't enter your house unless they're invited. Think about that. Evil needs permission. So when we sign certain contracts, compromise the truth, betray that voice, what are we letting in? That mirror? It's a soul check. And that missing reflection, it's a warning. Go tell them I ain't afraid of vampires, ghosts, whips, and chains. That ain't bravery, that's fatigue. Rod's telling us, look, I ain't afraid of the monsters that you show us. I'm scared of hoping again. Because in Sinners, the vampires don't just kill, they colonize. They bite black folks and make them sing their song. They replace blues with Irish folk music. They erase identity. And that's not fiction, it's real. That's America. So when I see these things happen, I say it's the American way. Music, execs, politicians, preachers, even gatekeepers, they love our rhythm, but not our rage. They love our talent, just not our trauma. And on the song, Rod calls them out by name. Contracts, spirits, hang. That's spiritual bondage. That's cultural theft. And it ain't just vampires. Rod says, devil riding my back like the tires on this new lap. You caught that, right? The Cadillac, created in 1908, became a symbol of black excellence. Man, the first taste of I made it. In the film, the Cadillac shows up both as mob status and mobility. And in Rod's lyrics, it's aspiration riding along possession. And the devil on his back ain't some red horn cartoon. It's addiction, industry exploitation. It's generational pain. He says, I waited my turn. I've walked so many miles. That's literal, ancestral. It's survival. Because before we had Cadillacs, we had barefoot soldiers walking through the heat, through cotton and through crossfire, just so we could sing. There's a line in the song that says, money, sex, cigarettes, champagne, weed, ecstasy, cocaine to the brain. Stay afloat, maintain. These aren't flexes. They're flotation devices. Rod is telling us, and Sammy is living it. If I'm high, don't judge the drug I'm on. Judge the hell that I'm simply trying to escape. Because when hope feels like a joke, you reach for whatever numbs the pain. And a lot of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. And some folks had the nerve to call Sinners demonic. Listen, and hear me well. Ain't nothing more demonic than an American courtroom. If you want to see a haunted house, study U.S. law. Study COINTELPRO. Study the war on drugs. Study how black families got torn apart in the 70s when factory jobs left and crack cocaine moved in the neighborhood. See, they don't need fangs when they've got funding, and they don't need cloaks when they've got robes. And at the end of the song, the last thing we hear from Rod Wave is these last words, I'll never be free. That's not just hopelessness, it's pure honesty. Because even when Sammy survives, even when Rod succeeds, the question simply remains, are you truly free if your soul can't rest? The Emancipation Proclamation wasn't a conclusion for us. It was a delay. And now we're still rewriting the footnotes of a broken promise. So yes, this is a painful song, but it's also truth. And the truth, that's where the healing starts. So now, let me turn the mirror on you, because there's something else in this film that we haven't even talked about yet. Garlic. In the Sinners film, garlic was the test. They passed it around to see who would eat it, because vampires simply couldn't take it. They choke, convulse, and reveal themselves. But let's flip the lens. What if garlic represents accountability, healing, self-reflection? What if garlic is asking, can you handle the truth about yourself? Can you take in the medicine you need? Or are you afraid because deep down you know you've already been turned? See, in the Black community, we talk about oppression, but what about the trauma that we don't address? The ways that we've hurt each other, the ways that we've sold out. Sometimes we are the vamp. So again, I ask you, when dreaming feels dangerous, how do you keep dreaming? What are you doing to protect your soul? What are your coping mechanisms? Are they healing you or hiding you? Who or what have you invited in your house? And when it's time to chew on the garlic, time to tell the truth about yourself, will you choke? Because sometimes the garlic ain't even for them, it's for us. Rod Wave didn't just write a song, he wrote an anthem. He wrote about Sammy's life. He wrote a confession. And Ryan Coogler didn't just make a film, he built a mirror. And today, you're not just simply watching a breakdown. You heard a sermon, you took a history class, you even looked into your own reflection. So I'll leave y'all with this. What is freedom if the system still owns your story? What is success if your soul can't rest? And what happens to the ones who dream too hard of setting our people free? This is Fraser's Lounge. I'm Vaughn, and this ain't just content, this is soul work. Let's get free. Peace.